All right, here we are. We're back inside of our A2A Cessna 172. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the time here real quick so that we can get this thing to a time of day where we can actually enjoy our nice little flight there without having to worry about running out of daylight here, but also get a chance to showcase some of the interior lighting. So I'm going to go to dawn, and hopefully we'll actually get this thing started up here on the first try. Sometimes I have issues with the A2A Cessna getting it started up here. So let's go ahead and open up our checklist. We'll do that by pressing Shift 2. And this will give us some of our information about the aircraft. We've already gone through the pre-flight, as you saw in the last video. So here we are at the actual beginning of the flight. So we've already checked our weight and balance. Parking brake is set. Control wheel locks have been removed. We've already done all this master switch stuff as we went around. Our flaps are still in the down position. So before starting, I'm going to get rid of this yoke real quick. So we're going to make sure that our throttle is cracked just a little bit. We want to push it in about 1/4 of an inch. We're going to make sure that our mixture is at idle. Master switch, we're going to bring it on. We're going to turn on our rotating beacon to let others on the airfield know that we're about to be starting an engine. And now we're going to go bring our auxiliary fuel pump switch to on. And we're going to bring the mixture to rich until we see that we have good fuel flow. Looks like it's rising. Should stay there for about 3 to 5 seconds. And now we'll pull that back to idle cutoff and shut the fuel pump off. I'm going to check the propeller area, make sure that it's clear, and give a nice good yell out the window, clear! Clear prop. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and bring our ignition switch to the start position. Like I said, sometimes I have issues getting this thing started. I don't know why, but for whatever reason I do. So we'll give it one more go here. Alright, let me check on my maintenance hanger here. Battery low voltage, typical. I'll go ahead and put this different battery in there. Maybe that'll help us out a little bit, huh? Alright, give this another go here. So we've got our battery switch coming on. Reprime the engine here. 2, 1000, 3, 1000. Shut that off. Bring it back to idle cutoff. And let's make sure everything down here is good. We've got the fuel set to both. Cutoff is in. Alright, let's try and fire it over again. I'm telling you what, this thing sometimes is just an absolute bear to start. Goodness gracious, am I right? This thing is a real pain in the ass sometimes. Oh, good Lord, I don't have time for this. I'm trying to make a video here. All right, auto start. There we go. Engine started. Damn A2A can kiss my ass with all that stuff sometimes. I don't know what the deal is, but for some reason I have the hardest time getting this thing started. So once we would get our engine started, we go ahead and bring our avionics switches on, bring our landing or our taxi and nav lights on. I like to put my strobes on as well. Bring our flaps back up and retract those. We'll start our Garmin over here, get it warming up. Also, we'll get our transponder. I'll set it to standby for the moment until we're getting ready to take off. And we'll go ahead and do our engine run up here real quick. I'm going to move this off screen so you're not going to be able to see it anymore, but I got it over here on my separate monitor. So seats, belts, and doors, check secure. Flight controls, we're going to check those bad boys. We'll go ahead and do our pre-flight or our pre-takeoff checklist now. I like to do it before I even taxi. Nothing worse than getting up to the runway ready to take off to find out something's wrong. Flight controls free and correct. Flight instruments check and set. So we got our altimeter setting. That's about field altitude. That's a little bit lower. It's about 300 feet, I want to say, field altitude here. So that seems about right. Fuel quantity is checked. Mixture is put all the way in rich. Looking good. Fuel selector valve is set to both. And let's go ahead and run our engine up here. Go up to 1800 RPMs. Alright, we've got it up at 1800 RPM, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check our mags. So we're going to go from both, and we're going to drop it down to the right mag, and we're looking for no more than 150 RPM drop there. Oh, looks like only about a 25 RPM drop, looking good. Bring it back to both. I'm going to check the left mag. Alright, stabilized at about 1700. We'll bring it back to both up there again. Engine, vacuum, and ammeter check. There should be a difference of no more than 50 between those mags. Let me check that again. 18. Sorry, I like to be thorough. 1800 RPMs, that takes us down to 1700. Alright, on the right mag. Now let's check the left. Alright, that one went to 1700 too. Okay, we're good. Now we're going to check our vacuum, ammeter, and oil pressure. Those all are looking good. Nothing's illuminated on our annunciator panel up here. And we'll go ahead and bring our throttle back to idle. And then we'll set it to 1000 RPMs. Keep that blade turning nice and easy. Okay. Radios and lights, we've got those set. We're looking good. Let's go ahead and bring the radio lighting up just a little bit. Bring up some of our instrument lights. Fuel selector light. Bring our glare shield light on a little bit there. I mean, nice, very nice lighting effects in this aircraft. I do like it. And since it's dawn, we really don't need these things. If it was more dusk time frame, I'd be more worried about it. But I just want to kind of show them to you guys here real quick. All right, so we got radios and lights set. Okay, elevator trim is set. Wing flaps, I don't use them for takeoff. So now we're clear to go ahead and taxi. We will taxi it out to the right. Okay. We'll go put in full right rudder and hit the differential brakes there. I'm going to have to back taxi on the runway here a little bit. That's just kind of the way DeFuniak works. They don't really have that great at taxiways out there. So we'll hold there at the line. All right. And I'm going to want to be taking off in the 270 direction. So I'm going to go ahead and come out of here, make myself a nice little left turn to taxi down to the end of the runway here. They actually have a soft field here too. This is where I did a lot of my soft field landings. It's a dirt strip. I did a lot of my soft fields there when I was getting my pilot's license. So yeah, that beautiful sunrise over there to the east. Couldn't pick a better, more beautiful place to learn how to fly, right? I actually got my license at the Eglin Air Force Base Aero Club down there. So if any of you guys are in that area around Crestview, Bonifay, Fort Walton Beach, Destin, pretty much anywhere around that part of Northwest Florida. Whoa, I probably should have started braking a little sooner. I was taxiing too fast. Anyhow, if you're down around that area, that's a great place to go get your license. They have some of the best instructors that you'll ever know down there, and they also have good rates on the aircraft too, which is always a good thing. All right, so like I said, I don't use wing flaps for takeoff. We're lined up on 2.7. I'm ready to take off, so let's go ahead and bring the throttle forward, stabilize the aircraft here, and then put it to the firewall and do our takeoff. All right, we're looking for 55 knots. That's where we're going to go ahead and rotate the aircraft. Just coming up in 4, 3, 2, 1, 55 knots. And we're going to try and climb the aircraft at 76 knots. Now, something that you'll notice when flying A2A Simulations aircraft is that your weight and balance really does matter. So, for me, like you saw in the last video, when I loaded this aircraft up, I'm 225 pounds. I'm sitting on the left seat of this aircraft. I simulated my wife, who's about 100 pounds lighter than me, sitting in the right seat. If I let go of these controls here, once I get her trimmed out, I'll let go, because right now I've got a little bit of right aileron in. Actually, you can see it right there. I'm putting in that much aileron just to keep this thing straight. So, alright, we've got our 76 knots there. That's about where we want to climb at. That's the VY speed for this aircraft, so that's going to get us the most altitude over the shortest period of time. VX, I believe, is 65 knots for this aircraft, and that'll get you the most altitude over the shortest distance. So knowing those V values is really important as a pilot. You know, if you're taking off from a short field, well, you might want to use VX. If you got some obstacles there at the end that you need to clear, you want to use that VX value. Whereas if you have some time, hey, not time, but if you have some distance, VY will actually get you there in the shortest amount of time to whatever altitude you're trying to get to. So you can see we've got to go to about 800, 900 foot per minute climb using the VY value there. And that's a pretty good climb for this aircraft. So you can see here we're going to keep on our track. This is pretty much a standard VFR flight for me. I've flown this numerous times, both in training and just, you know, when a buddy of mine and I wanted to go out and, hey man, let's go fly the airplane today. Okay, cool, sounds good. So since we are VFR, we're going to go ahead and bring that on to altitude there. We're going to squawk, clear. We're going to squawk 1200. That's our VFR squawk code. Lets the controller know that we're operating under VFR rules, not under IFR. And we'll just kind of continue this track that we're on for the moment. We'll climb up to, since we are VFR, like I was saying, we'll climb up to 2,500 feet since we're heading westerly. I don't know if that's a word. Westerly? Is that a word? Sounds like a word. Should be a word. If it's not a word, I made it a word. Now it's a word. There you go. Westerly. So once we've reached that altitude, which it appears that we have now, we'll go ahead and level the aircraft off. And I'm going to get this out of the way so you can see my tachometer there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring this thing back to cruise power, which is usually about 2,350 RPMs, 2,400 RPMs. Whenever I fly, that's where I like to keep it at. Gives you a decent cruise speed, you know, without putting too much stress on the engine. Looks like we're getting a little off course. If you look down right here, that's actually Interstate 10. So if you ever get lost flying around this part of town, you can always look for I-10. That's a huge landmark, and it's modeled correctly in the game. So it looks like we climbed up about 100 feet there. So let's bring it down. Now, I don't have the most beautiful graphics for this game. My computer just sometimes can't handle it. It's one of the things I actually bought this computer specifically for, was running Flight Sim, and then just over time it's become quite the intensive game with all the Rex add-ons and all that. Now, I am running Rex at this moment in time. That's how I get some of those nicer looking sunrises and stuff. But I'm not trying to do anything terribly crazy with this thing. I don't run with too much traffic on. In fact, I have it turned off for this video because it can become very intensive to the point where you can't even get any frames per second out of this thing if you turn all that traffic on. And I don't have the water effects turned on. For whatever reason, I put in some mod, and since that aircraft or whatever it is that I installed on here has been on here, and I wish I knew which one it was so I could take it off. But I've been having issues if I run the high like resolution or high detail water, my game will crash as soon as I look at water. So I've been having some issues with that, and I don't know how to fix it. So if any of you have any ideas, please feel free to shoot them my direction, because I would love to hear them. I've tried just about everything that a Google search will turn up. So, Alright, so now that I've rambled on and on and on and on, and I've probably bored you all to death, one thing that is nice about this A2A aircraft is that it does have an autopilot. So let's go ahead and turn that on and see how things go for us here. Let's switch that autopilot to track on the GPS there. So let's click on nav, and that'll get us on our course where we're trying to go, which will take us right to Bob Sykes Airport. And we'll also plug in a nice little altitude hold here. So it'll get us hanging on to that 2,500 foot plus or minus 50 range there. So as you can see, we've got a good airspeed there, about 112, 113 knots. Let's see what our ground speed is. We're trucking along at 128 knots, so we're doing pretty good speed in this Cessna here. Like I said, you know, I mean, you can bring that throttle. Whoa, we're doing 2,500 RPMs. That's why. Looks like we had a little bit of a change there. Let's bring that back to 2350. I think I might have tapped my mixture or something and got it a little set differently. All right. I was about to say, the engine sounds like it's cooking pretty hard. I mean, that's still well within the green arc. It's just not like where I like to operate the engine at. So I'm more of a leisurely type flyer. So as we're taking a look over here at our GNS 400, you can see right here, this little blue outlined area, that is actually restricted airspace. So when we're flying from, say, Crestview into Eglin, we have to follow a corridor that they have there. It's a north-south corridor, and basically it'll take us right along the line there, and then we'll dip off a little bit right here, and this is about where Eglin Reserve Field 2 is at, is right here in this little junction. And then from there, we come over to this little area, which is known as Shirks Point. Over here is White Point. We're going to fly into Shirks Point. And it really depends on the approach that Eglin gives us. Most of the time, if you come down through this corridor, they'll just give you a left base for 19, and you'll land right there. But if not, then you got to come into Shirks Point. You got to make this convoluted kind of right turn so that you don't go over any of the aircraft hangars there, and kind of swoop around King's Hangar, and then you come in and you land on runway 1, and that's your other approach there. So just something to be aware of. Is it 19? Can't remember. I think it's runway 1. I think that's the converse of 19, right? Might be losing my mind. Let me look on this VOR. 120. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's runway 1. So sorry, sometimes I lose it. So here we are, we're coming up on Bob Sykes Airport, which is right there. Bob Sykes is a nice little airport. They do a lot of aircraft maintenance over there, and at one point while I was stationed down there in Florida, there was actually an Antonov, one of those big Antonovs that landed there. It was like the second largest plane in the world, landed at this little podunk airport. And it's actually not that little, it's actually a decent size, but I call it podunk because Crestview is kind of a podunk town. But anyway, I loved it there, so can't be too bad, right? So we're coming up on Bob Sykes, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and override the autopilot, and I'm just going to have it go ahead and make us come off the nav and do a turn here, because I know we are at the point where we can go ahead and make that turn and stay within the corridor's limits. So here we come, nice little rolling left turn, maintaining our altitude using the autopilot there. It's going to keep us honest. I'm going to go ahead and plug in 109.1. 115.9 is actually the Crestview VOR. 109.1 is the Eglin Air Force Base ILS approach to runway 19. So I'm going to plug that in, and then I'm going to plug this into 194, which is the proper setting for it there. And we'll get all this set up just right, and we'll do an ILS approach into Eglin. Now if we take a look over here, this is Duke Field, and And from Duke Field, if you went up to about, say, right around there, that's where my house was. Somewhere in that general vicinity before you got up to I-10, which is right there. So I actually lived right around yonder over there. And so every time I flew, it was kind of neat to see that. I could actually fly right over, pretty much right over my house. All right, so as you can see, we're going to avoid this restricted airspace, which goes from here to here and then also into this area. And we are still in an MOA, which is the Military Operations Area, a MOA as they call it. So, you know, it's something to look out for in a MOA is military aircraft. That's a lot of times where they're going to operate. So obviously Flight Simulator isn't going to simulate that, but it is something that as a pilot you always want to be scanning for when you're operating inside of a MOA, because I mean you'll have a flight of F-16s go burning by at 300-400 knots. Well, typically not below 10,000 feet, but they will burn by you at about 200, 250 or less. Below 10,000 there. So another cool thing about A2A simulations, I'm going to bring this window back over here, is it'll show you your cabin is cold and steady. Well, you can see it's 63 degrees outside, so we'll turn the cabin air off. We'll turn the cabin heater on. I'm going to pull it all the way out, and you'll see it's nice and steady, and it's warming rapidly now, so we'll kind of adjust that. See, it says cabin is nice. Still says warming rapidly. Push that in a little bit more. Cabin is nice and steady. Okay, so, we're just at about 12, 17%. And it'll tell you it's cooling slowly, warming slowly, warming rapidly. See, it just came up warming slowly. So let's push that cabin heat back in, back to 12%. Now it says steady. So as we're passing through this corridor here, we want to maintain 2,500 feet or higher. We don't want to go below. Oh, excuse me. Oh man, now I got a yawn. I'm tired. I got to stop doing these videos at night. So we want to maintain 2,500 feet or above, and the reason for that is this is actually, part of this area over here is actually a bombing range. That's the reason that they want you to stay up, and it's also actually an EOD disposal range somewhere around here too. So they go out there and they're always blowing up bombs and stuff like that, so doing their training and whatnot. So they want you to stay above that level because they don't want you to catch any shrapnel in your aircraft. So it is possible that that kind of thing could happen, although highly unlikely. So there you go for that. Alright, so we're looking through our checklist over here. We did our takeoff checklist. En route climb, we maintain the appropriate airspeed. Cruise, we've got our cruise power adjusted accordingly. 2,300 RPMs down there. Floating back and forth. Yeah, 2,300. Elevator trim is adjusted. It's got us nice, we got the autopilot on now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to quickly go through our descent checklist because we will be shortly entering into that. And we're going to set our power as desired. Mixture is going to adjust for smooth operation, which right now is going to be full rich because we are below 3,500 feet. Or 3,000 feet, I'm not sure which. I think it's 3,500 Cessna recommends to start leaning at. Fuel selector valve, we're going to check that it is still set at both, and it is. And the wing flaps are as desired. Now, we are just a little bit above the glide slope there. And we're going to go ahead and turn on our landing light now because we are within a certain distance of the airport that we want to make sure that they can see us and any other aircraft can avoid us. I'm going to shut these lights down. And we're looking for that bar to come swinging inward there, and then we're going to start getting on our glide slope and making our descent. So that should be happening in about the next minute or so. So for landing, we want to go ahead and pre-check our landing checklist too. We want to remind ourselves our airspeed is going to be between 65 and 75 knots with the flaps up. Our approach speed is actually going to be closer to 60 knots with full flaps. And right now I'm going to, you know what, I'm not going to actually go ahead and talk to Eglin. I'm going to forego that for the moment. But I am going to go ahead and click nav on here so that this thing gets us on a nice glide slope there. I'm actually sorry, I'm going to press approach. And I don't know what it's doing, so I'm going to take over. Autopilot is now off. I'm going to swing the aircraft back. I know where I need to go and what I need to do. So now that I am getting inside of the Eglin airspace here, I'm going to go ahead and begin my descent slowly. I'll trim the aircraft for that descent. I'm going to back it up there, back up our view. I know that the first 10 degrees of flaps can be extended at 110 knots, so I like to keep my airspeed around there so I can extend those flaps as soon as I desire. I should have my glide slope by now, and I don't. Why that is, I have no idea. I am tuned in to the proper channel there. And I know I'm on center line because I'm looking at it. So I don't know, maybe we have an avionics failure going on here. I didn't know that A2A actually simulated that, but perhaps they do and I just didn't know. So we're going to go ahead and hit that first 10 degrees of flaps there. We're just a little over 110 knots. I feel comfortable with it. Should be fine. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this throttle back here. And I'm going to take a look at my runway over there, and I'm going to try and land at the second set of what I like to call captain's bars right there. So we're going to land at the second set of captain's bars. That's my desired touchdown point, because I like to land there so I can get off right at Mike, and then I'm set up to taxi back over to the FBO over there. So we're going to shoot this approach just a little bit high. I'm going to move this out of the way again. Just take note of these things here. The main wheels first and all that good stuff. You definitely don't want to touch down nose first. That's a kind of a crummy way to go. I'm very baffled as to what's going on with my avionics there, but hey, what can you do? All right, so I'm going to keep my eye on the ball down here. Basically, I want to keep, when I'm shooting this approach, I want to keep this set of captain's bars from moving. So I'm going to use a combination of pitch, power to accomplish that. Pitch and power, rather, sorry. That's the way that I've found to make it the easiest to kind of understand, is just whenever you're shooting an approach, whatever point you want to land at, so I want to land at the second set of captain's bars there, I'm just going to try and keep this big, either this or those captain's bars, just kind of steady in my viewpoint up here. I'm going to go ahead and put those last 10 degrees of flaps down there, so I'm at 30 degrees, and adjust my speed accordingly. I'll shoot the approach at about 65 knots here. We're looking good, coming down towards the center line. And that's where I want to do my round out, is right there at that little solid bar point right there. I'm going to go ahead and bring the throttles back. I'm going to hold off the aircraft. And look at that. Touchdown right where I wanted to. A little bit beyond, I guess, maybe by about 15 feet or so. And then we're going to go ahead and bring our flaps up. Proper landing procedures. That is Mike taxiway, right where I want to be. So we're going to make our left turn off at Mike. Alright, I'm going to taxi down Romeo over to Tango. And I'm going to go park this bad boy over at the FBO, and I'll show you the shutdown real quick. And it says my cabin's a little warm, so let's prop those doors open there, prop those windows open rather. Oh, excuse me again. Tell you what, I got the burps and all kinds of stuff going on tonight. So we're taxiing down. Oh yeah, I forgot to put my headphones on. By the way, you can put headphones on. It really quiets everything down. But yeah. You also put sunglasses on, all that good stuff. I'm taxiing a little fast. I'm trying to get where I'm going, so don't criticize me. I'm doing it on purpose. So I can end this video. Let's go through real quick and show you the shutdown and tie down. Oh yeah, we can go ahead and turn our landing light off now. We are no longer inside the airspace, so we can turn that off. And then leave our beacon, nav, and strobes on for the moment because we are taxiing. But no need for that big old landing light. Alright, so right over here is where the FBO is. So we're going to turn in. This is where the Aero Club would be. And we'll go ahead and park her over here so that the next pilot can come out and they can go have their fun. So, hit the brakes, Move her up just a little smidge here. Alrighty, so the aircraft is here. Let's go ahead and get inside here and check our parking brake. Parking brake set. Now we're going to go ahead and shut down the Garmin, turn off our avionics. We will shut off strobe and nav lights. Pitot heat, we'll bring that back off. I don't even know why I had it on in the first place. I guess I forgot to shut it off after startup. We'll leave the beacon light in the on position. And at this point we will go ahead and pull back on our mixture. Pull out on the shut off. Rotate this to the left. Shut down the battery and alternator. And off with the ignition. Now at this point we'll go ahead and do a quick walk around there and tie everything back down. Put the pitot tube cover on. Tail tie downs. Right wing tie down. Left wing tie down. And press shift 2. I'm sorry, shift 3 actually. And we'll set the wheel chocks and the control lock, which we could actually just click right here. Well, usually you can. Maybe not. Alright, so control lock. There we are. Oh, sorry, you can, but in true fashion you have to push all the way forward and then you can click it. So there you go. That's just how accurate AccuSim truly is. So, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. We've got this thing tied down and chalked up, and we can actually go in here, click empty plane, and it'll empty our aircraft out for us so we can start it from scratch the next time. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, make sure that you guys give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. I also have the Cessna 182, and I'm going to be doing a video on it. It's not a whole lot different from this, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Actually, one more thing before I go. We'll check out the maintenance hangar here, make sure we didn't break anything. Says the aircraft's in beautiful shape. Take a look at the engine here. Run another compression test. Looks good. Everything looks good. So we didn't break anything on the aircraft, so that's always a plus. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions of me, want an answer from a pilot or whatever. I mean, I'm by no means a master, but I do know, enough to have passed to get my pilot's license. So if any of you are interested or you have questions, by all means, feel free to ask me. I'm an open book. But be sure to at least subscribe if you're going to ask me questions. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this video and all the other videos that I do have out on YouTube. Feel free to check out the firearm side of my channel, and I got a lot of other stuff that's coming too. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.